Hey, what's up? This is 36 Drew coming to you, N3O Clan representing. What we have here is a FPVOD, first person video on demand from the perspective of Drew. The map is Deccan, or Deccan, or however it may be pronounced, which is of course located in modern day India, and I am quite thankful that I am not there with today's state of affairs and all the crazy terrorism and bombings and suicides and just the pure insanity that is all around there. Hopefully they get some good news in that country rather than some bad news. Anyway, getting on track here with the VOD, that was a little bit of an aside. This is a 2v2, not too popular with VODs, usually most of them are 1v1s. This is me and Challe versus siLenTo and MP8. I will be playing British, he will be playing French, we will be playing against Aztec and French. So really it's a mirror with my Brits and the Aztec being the oddball. Challe really needs no introduction. He is simply an amazing gamer. You know, he's a guy who can take a long break from the game and then come back and still you know, play at a very high skill level. Perhaps in my books he's well known for his VOD on Sonara when he beats I Am Grunt, and he is playing as Sue versus 1.0 China, which is maybe one of the most OP civs of all time. Arguably maybe Iroquois or maybe Vanilla Ottoman, something like that. We're at one point more OP, but anyway, very, very OP, and he beats him on Sonara, and I remember watching it, and just as Grunt goes age 3 and about 1 million disciples pop out, I was not sure what the outcome was going to be, but he still pulled it off. At any rate, siLenTo is again an excellent team player. The two players will be playing, of course, one of them is rank 37, the other is rank 34. MP8, Michael Phelps, 8 gold medals. Anybody? I'll let you guys decide if that's him or not. We all know he plays AoE 3, but we kind of thought he retired, and I don't know. I'll let you guys decide if that's real or not. Just a little bit of fun tinkering around, you know how it goes. Anyway, so we discuss me and Challe, aka Emile or Emily or whatever you want to call him. Beforehand, what we were going to do. The theory behind it was this: of course, he was going to go for cavalry. He's France. France has great cav. The plan was to go to maintain a 2-to-1 ratio of longbows to pikes. That's more mathematical than I get in most games. Most games I just kind of wing it and go in and blah 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 blah. Especially because adaptation can change that. You see what your opponent's making. It's just a theory, right? So, and then after that I was going to add hussars to the mix, because in theory those 20 longbows should be able to take care of maces. And then, you know, the hussars would then do good against the you know, or did I say maces? I meant pumas. The longbows will get rid of the pumas, although they also do good against maces. Not great. Maces may be more cost effective. And anyway, so after you get that anti-cav out of the way, then you have your hussars run in, blah 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 blah. Because you're not going to really expect him to continue to make pumas. It's just they're just not all that great of a unit for what they cost. The fact that they take gold rather than the European pike, which is just the 40-40 food coin, really is not a good thing. At any rate, we scouted here a villager hanging out, undoubtedly for a forward base, and Challe gets on that immediately, harassing with his scout and his explorer. And that's interesting because you always start with a scout and an explorer, and you know, usually there's 2 villagers hanging out at the front base, which is kind of a mistake on their behalf, but still, we end up taking out this villager with relative ease, which is something I kind of forget. Haven't seen a lot of French players lately, so maybe I just haven't been thinking about that. Getting back on track with, I guess, the build and so on, I suppose that one of the things with this build is that you do all the standard stuff, except on Deccan, you basically have to age up in a quick manner. You don't want to go too nuts on the houses and the market upgrades and colonial, etc., because it can slow you down too much. And during the transition, get a market up with the standard upgrades, hunting dogs, gang saw, and so on. And there we see their front base being built. We try to get one more villager. You see the stables going up along the war hut. Good general rule of thumb is, in a lot of situations, especially in 1v1s and in team games also, is you don't want to fight beside the Aztec war hut or an Iroquois war hut, or things like that. Especially all those shooting barracks that also can receive shipments, Russias for example. You can have a shipment pop out in conjunction with units popping out, which can just straight up turn the tides of a battle. That said, you do have to usually take it down at some point. Sometimes you can go just walk right around it and just try to play the game like that, but sometimes you can't. And also here, just trying to take in a second herd. I'm not sweating it too much though. You start with a good amount of berries on this map. Sometimes on a map like Great Plains, if you end up screwing yourself on herds, which really you shouldn't, there is no excuse. There's herds everywhere on the map. You should be able to collect them in good, but if you somehow do, and trust me, I do it all the time, you'll get starved, and the starvation factor is just so important in all these games. And you'll notice here that there was 3 hussars running in right away, and so I'm assuming that he sent the 3 hussar shipment right then and there. After my group of longbows, I made a group of pikes of course, for engaging the cav. Here I notice he doesn't have any cavalry out yet, but I'm thinking it's going to be popping out right away. I'm going to try and keep my longbows on his maces, and there his cav pops out, so I'm going to charge in with my pikes. Not really a situation where I can put them into cover mode or anything like that, but I'm going to just try to keep my pikes on his cavalry and try to keep my longbow on his maces, and then his puma when his puma come in, which is right here. And things seem to be working pretty well in that regard. Next shipment, of course, you go 3 villagers, 700 wood, 5 villagers. That's pretty standard stuff. He calls Minutemen also. Very handy to have. Minutemen just absolutely murder pumas just because they basically one-shot kill them. At least if you have like 4 or more, they'll one-shot kill a puma. I think it has to do with the classification system and pumas being considered a siege unit rather than they're siege unit and heavy infantry, and I believe Minutemen have a bonus. I could be wrong on that. Someone please correct me if I am wrong, but I believe that's how it works. Next card, just continuing up with the theoretical build. 700 wood, 5 villagers, 600 wood. Next card is in theory supposed to be 4 vills. Can't remember if I played or not, but I guess we'll have to watch and see. So right here, actually something worth paying attention to is the top right corner of the screen. There is each player has grabbed a trading post right at the beginning of the game, and of course score is something which I like to monitor also. I'm just trying to rescue my explorer there, gather him to do some scouting, so on and so forth. Really right now we just want to sit here and continue to mass, continue to boom a little bit. Challe is undoubtedly getting market upgrades. France with all the market upgrades, very nice eco. Then again, I guess a lot of civs are if they have all the upgrades, but for some reason they seem to be particularly effective with France. Don't know why. The villagers cost more, take longer to train. They're better villagers, but I don't know. Anyway, of course, it's always a good idea to pick up a nice big treasure while you're sitting around during some of the downtime in the game, if there is downtime. A lot of the games I've been playing lately, for some reason, haven't had any downtime. But that's just how it goes sometimes. One of the things I'm trying to place my manners just beside that trade route there, just get some line of sight in case there's some cavalry that comes in raiding and whatnot. That's just kind of, that's just good practice. Also, I could also start laming with wall segments if I wanted to, though I would expect in the next fan patch that'll get changed pretty quick. And I know Challe's got a nice mass of hussars going on here. Always handy to see. Here I'm asking him, should we push? What should we do? And I can't remember exactly what he says here. It's not recorded in high enough quality to be seen. I believe what he says though is that he's going for the age right now. So I'll just kind of let him take the direction. One of the things that's, you know, really important in team games is, yeah, you need to build the counter unit, and yeah, you need to not be wasting villager seconds with having them idle, and yeah, you can't get raided to crap, but perhaps one of the most important things is your decision making, when to push, when not to push, when to let your front base die and fall back, and so on and so on. It's just, you know, very, very important. And I mean, one of these scenarios right here, where, you know, fall back a little bit, Challe needs to come around so I can put my longbows on his pumas, and my pikes, I'm just keeping them at the front, sort of using them as a meat shield here. Call Minutemen also to the battle. Very handy if you're close to your town center. You can always do that. And of course, trying to continue to make longbows. I'm not worried that there's enough other units floating around. I need to be making more pikes. The cav is going to be pretty much dealt with. And at this point, the battle is, you know, it gets a point in the battle when you can almost just set it and forget it, and just kind of move on, do something else, just because it's won. And I don't know, maybe that's a limit of my thinking, and maybe that's why I'm stuck at the rank I am and not getting any higher at the moment. But I don't know, whatevs, it's all good, no worries. So right here, we're going to push back since we've won that fight. They've lost a decent amount of military. In fact, you know, basically all their army. We've taken some pretty heavy losses, and during that I've ended up with an excess of wood, so I'm going to send my villagers on his wood. I'll actually ship 6 longbows next. I really like this card. Most people don't, and most people would be sending other cards right now, but you know, that's just me, that's just my play style, that's just how I do it. I like to have 6 longbows there when I'm under early pressure. It's so easy to overboom as Brits, but I don't know, it's weird. When I watch some people play Brits, like Nature Phoenix and guys like that, which maybe are not accurate representations of the entire population, but even when I watch other guys play, like I was watching, I can't remember who it was, Warrior X or someone like that, they usually don't ship stuff like that, so I don't know, maybe I should stop sending that stuff and start sending other stuff, but whatevs. So anyway, we start pushing here, going into raid, out back, going around essentially their front base, not engaging there. Challe had scouted some downed hunts, you know, so of course we headed that direction. And at this point we are all still in Age 2, though that is very quickly about to change. You know, we're just both continuing on with the manor boom and so on and so on. By the way, I hope everyone had a very good Christmas. I hope everyone got good presents. More importantly, probably spent time with family, did all those wonderful things. Hopefully nobody got in fights with their parents or drunk people at the bar, and hopefully everybody just, you know, kind of relaxed and smoked Cuban cigars or something like that. Getting back on track, next card is a wood upgrade, and you know, basically here, here's our matting in the hussars. Game time, this is like 14 minutes. It's just a little bit later than what normally happens. Usually when you go for double racks, longbow pike, you end up adding hussars in just a little bit before this. But again, it depends on the dynamics of what is happening, and it also depends what your strategy is, what your teammate's doing, so on and so on. And you know, I'm gonna try to grab a couple of trading posts here, not to research Stagecoach at this point. I just want a little bit of experience, so you know, can hit H3, grab more shipments, can do whatever. Stagecoach is very nice too, just like having a little bit more villagers to your eco, just like the icing on the cake. And here, you know, I start to spam hussars. You know, once you get a group of 10 hussars, it's very nice for flanking with. Sometimes I feel that a group that's just a little smaller than that, in a team game anyway, will kind of just melt too easily unless it's positioned really good. But you know, that's just my thinking. 1v1 is a little bit different than team. 2v2 is kind of also an interesting scenario because you have aspects of a straight out team game where like a 3v3 random, where let's say, or 3v3 TVB, where you know, your job is basically to make one unit, whereas in a 1v1 your job is to adapt and make 2 or 3 different types of units, or sometimes 4. You know, like you go longbow, pike, hussars, and then end up having a little bit of artillery in H3 or dragoons, or you know, something. So it's a little bit different. You know, everybody talks about the rock paper scissors combo, and you know, kind of the dynamics of it are different in a 2v2. And here both French players have actually gone for age 3, and there you see, like, ooh, he's had a group of cuirassiers up there, which of course are beastly French cavalry. Their area attack is just simply awesome. I just love that unit. They're just so good. He starts sieging the stables. I can't decide what card to send. I'm going to send my cavalry attack card, since the musket attack card is kind of useless at this point in the game. Control keys here, if I want to talk about those. Control 1 is my ranged infantry. Control 2 is pikes. Control 3 is cav. Control 4 is stables. Control 5 is barracks. Control 6 is my town center. You also notice there that I actually I upgraded my villagers a while ago, but I'm giving them the attack. I've got some groups of villagers that are kind of like way out and about. They're pretty big groups. Sometimes if you have a small group of cav that comes into raid, you can actually just fight them with your villagers, and you know, they can be cool, and you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. And I'm experiencing a bit of lag in the game here. Gotta love this. I'm always a little bit worried when that happens, that you're gonna see the big flashing screen of death. And here the other French player comes rolling in, and he's got a lot of hussars, and there's maces in there, and there's goons. I'm going to try and put my longbow on those goons with some success. My hussars, I don't use them really as effectively as I should here. And at this point, really we're just trying to not have a catastrophic event happen, like me running all my longbows in and losing them immediately. Trying to have them inflict some damage on the dragoons first, and you know, hopefully with that cuirassier spam, they keep coming in. Also, when I look back and I notice that I have a couple idle villagers, in a situation like this, you know, you can look at tasking them on certain resources or whatever, but the more important thing I think is just to keep them gathering, and don't worry so much about the influx of resources you might have. It's kind of more important than just that they're gathering, because looking at the battle is much more important. And here you see Challe said GJ, good job. Always feels nice to get a compliment from a skilled player like him. So we're going to cruise in here. He's spamming some warriors from his fire pit. He's undoubtedly at this stage of the game, he's got 10 warrior priests on the fire pit. And you know, there's an Aztec player with that attack dance and 10 warrior priests can really inflict some serious damage. And you notice Red is continuing to spam dragoons, which of course are on paper the counter to cuirassiers slash gendarmerie, or whatever you want to call them, gendarmerie. And but the thing is, gendarmerie, they're costly, but once you get enough of them, they can pretty much just run through those dragoons, especially if you get those dragoons cornered and into melee mode. With a bunch of them, it'll inflict some pretty serious damage. And you know, just continuing on with what we're doing here, I'm just continuing to spam the longbows and the pikes, and this kind of comes back to what I was saying about decision making. Your micro is always going to matter no matter what you play. Well, no matter what skill level, it always is going to matter. But I'm inclined to say that in a team game, decision making, you know, what combo you're using, you know, the old rock paper scissors analogy, keeping your economy pumping steady is probably more important than in a 1v1. And you know, I'm just kind of rambling off about the dynamics of the game and, you know, just how I feel about that. Of course, I age with the 7 longbow politician. It's pretty much a no-brainer. The only other situation you might choose a different politician is, like, let's say you're on the sea and you would like the Admiral of the Sea, or which of course gives you a caravel and 400 wood. Or the other one, maybe you would want the 2 corsairs and 1 privateer, or whatever the heck it is. And here we're in a bit of a... This is a situation where you gotta think of the movie 300. You're in a really narrow choke point, and numbers count for nothing there. You know, you gotta be really careful with how if you use them to your advantage, you're just like, oh wow, they just work unbelievable. But sometimes if you get tricked into going into one at the wrong time, things start to get a little bit ugly. One of the things in this game that I haven't done as well as I should have is, and I end up with a little excess of wood. At one point I end up having about 1,000k, or pardon me, 1,000k, 1k excess wood, and you know, you want to try to avoid things like that as much as possible. And I don't even have, you know, it's okay if you do that and then you have, I shouldn't say it's okay, but if you do that, then in some cases you can spam manners like mad. But I'm not in that situation. I think I've built as many as I can at this point. And there we go for the treasure in the middle of the map. 10% HP to infantry. That's a pretty sweet treasure, actually. There's a lot of treasures like that that are like underrated. Like on Mongolia, the 0.5 damage bonus versus villagers, like that's just simply unbelievable. You know, I've won games because of that treasure before. It's a little bit risky kind of going for it right off the bat, because sometimes I just go and I look exclusively for that treasure. But I don't know, it depends what you play for. I kind of play more to just have fun, horse around, all those things. I kind of play a little bit to try and get better at the same time, but you know, sometimes having fun is more important to me than just trying to be a better player. So I don't know, that's my 2 cents on that. What's the point in playing if you can't have fun, right? Unless you're making money off it, then you're just an addict. Like pretty much everybody who's still playing this game is an addict, but that's okay, that's sweet, because it's just an awesome game. But I mean, that, and we can still keep hating on ES for shutting down you know, their doors and not giving us support and all that. That's okay. I would never flame someone for flaming that scenario, but hopefully at the very least we get some support for the fan patch coming up. Just because, you know, it doesn't really affect a lot of the, like, let's say Captain Plus players, but, you know, talking to guys in the clan about players that are a little bit lower, and so, you know, they complain about having a difficult time finding a game, and it's really divided the community because of it, which I can see. At least it's very easy to switch back and forth from patch to patch, so hopefully they come up with a solution to improve patch distribution, because I know, like I said, at my level it doesn't really matter much, but for a lot of the lower players, yeah, that's a pretty big deal. Getting back on track here, I have gone H3 also. The Aztec player is still in H2, and there's a very large mass of Dragoons sieging Challe's town center. Of course, I just shipped longbow range. I'm going for upgrade HP and attack for the the longbowmen at the arsenal, which of course it's just a nice upgrade. It's not a great upgrade, but it does help the battle. But I mean, once those guys get 26 range, that's just so evil that doing anything about it can get ugly. And also my next card is 8 villagers. And I'm going to put up a second town center here. You know, in my head we're thinking, you know, those Dragoons are a little bit scary. If they're microed really effectively, you might be able to cause some significant damage to those gendarmes. But look at that, or to those cuirassiers, and look at that. Challe goes age 4. Boo-yah. Which means that those cuirassiers are about to become gendarmes and about to become 850 hit point beasts. Like, and look at that. They even when they upgrade, they even look so much cooler when they're upgraded. Like, you know, whoever did the animation there did the right job on the unit. And so, you know, I just kind of manually split my longbow into 2 groups onto his Dragoons there. Just, you know, so I'm not overkilling super bad, even though I'm sure I am. And here, this is kind of, you know, a situation where it's nice to have the 26 range. I mean, 26 range is just so long. You know, it even makes it difficult for cannons to start to take out longbows, especially when you get a nice mass. And, you know, at this point I've got a 3rd barracks up now, and I'm just continuing to spam longbows, throwing the odd hussar in just for good measure. Of course, there I'm getting my 3rd town center up just to contribute to the boom factor. you know, everybody just loves to boom, especially with Russia. But, you know, booming is just so fun. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Like, I've played civs like Iroquois and Aztec a little bit, and you know, it's just not the same. You know, like, you build up just this massive eco and you just swarm your opponent. It's just supremely awesome. So of course here, siege wall, we go running in. I'm just following Challe's directions. You know, if one player in your game is going to give you directions on what to do, don't be an idiot and go against him because you're mad that, like, yeah, and you want to be all oppositional to him because he's tried to tell you what to do. Like, if somebody's significantly, like, better than you, like, listen to what they say. It probably makes sense, even if you don't understand it. Just do it. Take my word for that. That's what I do. There's one guy I play with all the time, and I just listen to what he says, and because of it, I win more than I should, and I like that. And Skype or Ventrilo servers are both awesome for that. By the way, you should all be thankful you're not in Canada right now where I live. The temperature right now is minus 32 degrees Celsius. That is without the wind chill, so it's pretty cold to leave the house. And you see there, his cavalry is running into those dragoons. He's basically got them cornered. Doesn't even matter that it's supposed to be the counter unit, just because A, they're cornered and in melee, and B, the gendarme with so much hit points just can't compete. There's not a lot of ranged cavalry at this point that can do it. Of course, Fort Dragoons can. Well, I actually think Brit Dragoons do pretty good against gendarme, but of course there's no Brit. Dutch Reuters, of course, very good also. Though you don't see too many Dutch players nowadays because they're kind of in a weak state of affairs. And basically, you know, we just have too much map control and they're kind of getting pushed back to the corner, and, you know, this is just good game. Their French player decides to switch to some cuirassiers there, but, you know, it's just too late to make that decision, and they just can't compete. You know, it's been a fun game. It's been great to play with Challe. I really feel privileged playing with a very skilled player like him. Kudos to the other team for playing it out. Sometimes, you know, a lot of the time when I play in team games, I feel either my team or the other team resigns way too early before it really is a good game. And it was a very good game to play. It was fun to play, fun to watch, all those things. You can see the Brit boom effect there. I mean, the resources gathered is just massive. Aztec, you kind of expect to be very low on resources like that, but they've got the fire pit, 10 warrior priests, so that kind of compensates for that. And you can see our military population was actually pretty equal throughout the game. One of probably the factors is that, you know, they were pushed to relying on markets and mills and factories and plantations and all that fairly early in the game, and that can definitely slow you down. Investing in that economy is quite expensive. You know what? I hope you guys enjoyed this game. If you enjoyed it, just give me a holler. Say it was a fun game. If you have a criticism, a critique, and all those things, I welcome all of those. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year's. Stay safe. Have a lot of fun. And like James Bond says, if you can't feel alive, what's the point of living? Good game.